Welcome to The Moment. It's a great honor to have you join us again this evening. To some people, it's morning. To some people, it's afternoon. But honestly, we got to thank God that we are alive and we are well. See that you are connected to me this evening or at this moment is that you are well. And I'm so happy. I'm so glad to have you. It's a great honor. Thank you so much for being a part of the moment. Like I will always say whenever I'm starting, that our primary purpose of this broadcast is to help everyone experience and enjoy the best in every moment of life. Remember, God made every moment of life to be enjoyed. In the beginning, when He made the moment, there was no time, excuse me please, there was no time or moment or situation that was bad. Everything was created to be the best. You see, and that's why I define the moment as the best moment of a moment in life. I want to say that again for the benefit of those who are just joining us on this broadcast for the first time. I said the moment is the best moment of a moment in life. No matter what moment you are in, no matter what situation or circumstance you find yourself, I want you to know that there is the best in that moment for you. Not everybody can identify with it. Not everybody can see it. But that is what we do in this broadcast, to be able to help you to identify the best in any moment of life that you are in. Situations of life throw different things at you at all times. You see, contesting for your attention, trying to get the best out of you. But I want you to know that God takes advantage of any moment that you are in to create or to give you the best. So there is the best in every moment that you are in. If you are joining us on this broadcast for the first time, I appreciate it so much. I want to welcome you because I know that you desire to experience the best in every situation of life. That's why somebody has invited you. That's why you are here with us this evening. We just want to take it from where we stopped last month. I stumbled on a quotation by Malcolm Gladwell, and I've thrown out that to us since the beginning of this week so that we can begin to think about it, because I believe that every one of us in one way or the other have experienced what Malcolm Gladwell said in this. Let me quote him. Let me quote what he said. He said, "It will be interesting to find out what goes on in that moment when someone looks at you and draws all sorts of conclusion." I know that we can really identify with that. Somebody look at you and he came up with all manner of conclusion. He has never met you before. Maybe he has experienced you before, but he came into a conclusion. You see? And he started saying all sort of things, started behaving to you in all manner of ways that sometimes you wonder, what's wrong with this individual? Why is this individual doing this? Why is this individual doing that? Because that individual came to a conclusion. And that's why I said this evening, I want us to, go on and see that on that moment when someone looks at you and draws all sorts of conclusion, I want us to look at why. You see, it's not everything that really matters to us, but in the context of the moment, we want to look at what is important to us and what we need to focus our attention on. Because not everything in life deserves to have our attention. Not everything in life deserves to have the best of us. You must understand that. Before we begin, to roll into it deep, go deeper again this evening, I want you to do me a favor. There is somebody somewhere that that need to be a part of this broadcast, that need to hear some of the things that we talk about here. I want you to help me share the link that you joined through it. Maybe yours is Zoom. You see, my YouTube channel is right on the screen at this moment. Please help me send it to somebody. That person knows somebody that needs what we are talking about. So do me a favor. I want you to subscribe to this YouTube channel. All the ones that we have done in the past, I try as much as possible to put most of them up in this channel for us, so that some people can go in and hear what is there and begin to go through, because I know that we are in to be of help to somebody. I know that. I'm so sure about that. So let's go ahead this evening. You see, let me repeat what Malcolm said. He said, it will be interesting to find out what goes on in that moment when someone looks at you and draws sorts of all conclusion, all manner of conclusion that person has drawn. You see, let's look at what is really important. That person draw conclusion about you from his or her own perspective or perception. That's what that individual did. It's based on what he perceived. It's based on, where the angle is looking at you from. And that is based on what is on his mind. That is based on some things that that individual has gone through in the past. You see, for example, if you take a critical person is always critical about everything. He takes everything and he questions everything. You see, they don't see any good thing in anything. Sometimes for some people it's as a result of what they went through in the past, and they draw conclusion about you. You see, and you can see them in the light of what we were talking about last week when we were talking about instinct. You can see them that they allow negative instincts to run at all time when they draw such conclusion about you. You see, the most important thing is your response to the drawn conclusion that will determine what that moment will be for you. What did I say? I want to say that again. I said the most important thing is your response to the drawn conclusion. You see, the most important thing for you is what? Your response to the drawn conclusion that will determine what that moment will be for you. Your response. That is what will determine it. That is what will determine it. You see, how do you respond to that person's conclusion? Remember, your response in any situation of life will determine your experience. So, it's very important for you to know that if that person has drawn a conclusion based on their perspective or their perception of you, it doesn't really mean that that is who you are. You see? It doesn't really mean that is what you should do. It doesn't really mean that you got to respond to that individual's instinct. Because sometimes they get angry. They look at you and they just draw all manner of judgment. You see, I know you've had people who will look at you before, or they've looked at somebody, and based on just external appearance, they draw a conclusion. They have prejudged that individual. They have never met that individual, really to really know or hear about that individual. Some people will tell you, oh, all females are like that. that's how women behave. Oh, that's how men behave. You know, you hear some people, they'll tell you, oh, it's a black man. Oh, that's all blacks are just like that. Prejudice. You see? And most of the time, what happens is that it affects people. It affects people's moments. It determines what happens in the next moment. And that's why it's so important for you and I in this discussion to have an understanding of how to handle it, what to do with such things. It's very important. You see, your response in any situation of life will determine what your experience will be. You see, in any situation of life, your response will determine your experience. You see, if there is the best moment in every moment of life, how you respond to the way people treat you, the way people speak about you, what people say about you, how people handle you, people's instinct about you, will determine what you will experience. So, for you, you cannot afford to let what they are doing determine your life. That's why I said your response in any situation of life will determine what your experience will be. So, understand this. You see, that person has manifested to you his or her own instinct based on perspective, on his or her perspective or perception. That individual has done what he did, has come to a conclusion, you see, based on what he perceived, based on what that individual think, you are doing, or you have done, or you have not done. You can't let that determine your life. You can't let that determine how you live. No. You see, you cannot allow yourself to be a prisoner of that person's instinct. You see, some people will blow out based on their perspective of who they think you are. They just get angry and start misbehaving. Sometimes you look at them, why is he getting angry? What is he getting angry for? Yeah, it's based on his perspective of you. You see, it's based on how he has prejudged you. But you cannot afford to let that determine the moments of your life. You see, in the midst of that very moment, there is the best for you. So you can't afford to take on that individual. You've got to understand how not to allow that individual's prejudgment of you determine how you live your life. You see, and that's why I'm going to say this evening. Never allow yourself to be controlled or manipulated by other people's instinctive judgment. Never allow yourself to be controlled. Don't allow them to manipulate you. Don't give them the opportunity. You see, there is a story that I wrote down here. I want to read this story. You see, I want to read this story this evening. I want you to hear this, to see how people instinctively judge others in life. Look at this story look at this thing that happened in 2009. A group of researchers under the British government sent about 3,000 job applications under false identities, using a mixture of names associated with minority groups and white-sounding names to uncover racial discrimination among employers against potential employees. The results showed that applications who appeared to be white would only have to send 9 applications to receive 1 positive response, while minority application will have to send 16 applications for the same response. Look at that. Based on names, employers prejudge the people, instinctively judge these people based on what they think that name is, right? Some group that sound like white, names sound like white name, have to send application 9 times before they got response. Others that are minority, they have to send application 16 times before they get the same response. Look at that. That is what? Instinctive judgment. You see? Let's continue. It says, a shared piece of knowledge among these employers is the stereotype that minorities don't or aren't good at speaking English compared to native English speakers. The stereotype is formed when people associate minorities with bad English due to personal experience. Look at that. Look at that. Some of us have experienced that. You're listening to me right now. You have applied for jobs. You've been wondering why they treat you the way they treat you. Yes, it's some of this that is going on. You cannot afford to continue to take that on. That has been affecting you, affecting the way you relate with people. It has been affecting the way you relate to yourself. Why? Because of somebody's conclusion. Because of somebody's stereotype. Because somebody somewhere behaving the way they are not supposed to behave concerning you. And that has been affecting different moments of your life. No, you can't let that happen. I read this story, in the Bible, in the book of John chapter 8. If you read the whole of John chapter 8, you will see something that happened there. Jesus Christ was having discussion with the Pharisees. You see, you will notice that these people have made up their mind by just looking at him on what they will do about him. They are not ready to take anything he says. They have prejudged him. He kept on explaining, he kept on teaching, he kept on bringing light to them, but they have made up their mind about him. You see, to the point that discussion went on and on and on and on and on. He kept on trying to show them things that have already been written about him that they themselves have read before. But look at that. They have made up their mind. And this is what I'm saying. We cannot allow, these people who have made up their mind to determine the moments of our life. In every moment for us, for you and I, there is the best. You see, you got to go beyond their actions. You got to go beyond their words. You got to go beyond the things they do and experience the best in that moment. You cannot let them design the moments of your life. No, you can't let that happen to you. You see, Jesus Christ continued in that John chapter 8. I can read it. It's a lot. There's no way, with the time that we have, I can go through all that is there. He continued with them to the point that they told him, you are a child that is born out of fornication. Did you know how painful that sounds? Yet he continued the conversation trying to help them understand. And at one point, they got to that point at the end of that chapter 8. You know what they did? They picked up stones. They were ready to stone him to death. And the Bible recorded that. What did he do? He walked out, find a way to manage himself, and get out of them. They couldn't stone him. But look at one significant thing that happened. Jesus Christ continued, went on the street. If you read, go to chapter 9, read from verse 1 in chapter 9. After he left that situation, that is a situation that controls people, that determines how they relate with others. You see, to the point that they want to kill him for saying the truth, for trying to help them. That will have messed up
the next moment of his life. But how did Jesus handle it? He never allowed what they are doing or what they did to him to affect his life. That's why I said your response in any situation will determine your experience. How did I know Jesus Christ didn't take on their attitude, their behaviors, and their conclusions about him? How did I know that? In chapter 9, which is the continuation of what happened that day, a blind person came to him. What did he do? He healed the blind person. You see, if he had allowed his natural instinct to begin to rule him or control him, there is no way he would have attended to that guy that he met. But he never allowed the situation to steal his moment. That is what I'm saying, people. The things that happen to us want to steal the best of our moments, the best of our time, the best of every situation. Remember, no matter what that situation is, there is the best for you in that moment. There is the best for you in that moment. You cannot allow people's conclusion about you determine what your next response should be. Now, respond positively. You see, hear this. How do we go about it? We started talking about that last month. Your mind is like a piece of land you own. That's what your mind is. It's like a piece of land you own. You see, if you are not intentional about putting something on that space, anything will occupy the space. If you leave your mind to any type of or all types of thoughts or any type of thoughts, you see, that comes to your mind is what you think about. It's like that a piece of land that when you buy it and you leave it without doing anything on it, what happened? All manner of things will grow on it. You see, different types of insects will live on it. Different types of things will take the space and use it. Your mind cannot be that space that is left, unused. You see, you have to be intentional about the thoughts that goes on in your mind. You see, you got to choose the things that goes on in your mind. You cannot let just every and anything run in your mind. You see, you've got to intentionally occupy the space of your mind. It's not a space for just every and anything to go on. You got to understand how to capture your thoughts. You see, you have the ability to capture your thoughts. God has given every one of us the ability to capture our thoughts. You see, when people draw all manner of conclusion about you, different types of things, thoughts run through your mind. Things that is not good, especially, when what the conclusion is not good, when the conclusion is negative. You see, you cannot allow that to run you. You cannot allow that to settle in your mind. Your mind is like that blank space. You see, that piece of land that must be cultivated. You see, you've got to cultivate the thoughts, the right thoughts. You cannot afford to let any type of thought goes on. Last month we look at some ideas or some thoughts that are trying to locate our mind and occupy our mind. You got to capture them. Look at what the Bible says in the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 10 verse 5. Look at what the Bible says. It says, we pull down every proud obstacle that is raised against the knowledge of God. We take every thought captive and make it obey Christ. What do? We take every thought captive and we make those thoughts to obey what the word of God says. If it is not pure, if it is not good, if it is not nice, what happened? We are not going to give room to that. We are not going to allow that in our mind, right? Because it is not good, it is not pure, it is not honorable. You see, we're going to focus our mind. We're going to intentionally choose what goes on in our mind. You see, this is how not to allow negative instinct to dominate or imprison us. Other people's instincts trying to dominate our lives or imprison us. So we are not going to give them the opportunity to run a negative instinct. Understand this. God did not created us to be a subject of negative instinct. You see, what we allow, the thoughts that we allow in our mind gain access to our subconscious. You see, to the subconscious part of our mind through thinking. When we allow thoughts that is allowed gain access to your subconscious, and that is what determines the instinct that it's profound when you are in any situation. You see, sometimes you hear some things, sometimes you see some things, and the next thing is that we just get angry. You see, negative instinct. Why? Because of what we have allowed in our mind. You see, we draw from those things when we are in situations. So you are the one that will determine. You have what it takes. Let me put it this way. You have what it takes to determine your response in any situation in life. Have this in mind at all times. That what happened, there is the best for you in every situation. You see, it may not look obvious because of the type of the world that we live in, but you are not going to let the negative in any situation dominate your mind or draw the things that you think. Hear this. When you saturate your mind with the right thoughts, it will become easier to recognize and challenge instinctive patterns that is contrary to the right thoughts. That's how you are going to be able to. That's how you are going to be able to handle it, right? Because you have saturated your mind, you see, with the right thoughts. You see, and I gave us an action exercise last month. I want to repeat the same thing because the more we go over this and we apply ourselves again and again, this is how we begin to bring change in every area, in every situation of life. I said to us last month, I said, intentionally saturate your mind with positive thoughts. Intentionally do that. Do that intentionally. Look for books that will guide your thoughts. Look for books that will give you things, positive things to think on. Connect with individuals that are positive in the way they do things, in the way they talk about things. Disconnect from negative. You see, walk away from negative. You see, if it is not pure, if it is not good, if it is not going to encourage you, hey, walk away from it. Because these are the things that will determine whether you'll be able to see the best in the moments that you are in and draw the best out of that moment, or you are going to be imprisoned by that situation. Here there's somebody. Everybody in life have the right to do whatever they like. You see, they have the right to say whatever they like. It's like, opinion is like a nose. Everybody got one. So I want you to look at it when some people say things without knowing you, draw a conclusion, without asking questions, without getting to know you, without interacting with you, and they just, everything they have drawn about you is negative, and also all negative and negative and negative. That is not going to help you, that is not going to build you up, that is not going to help you to get to the next stage of your life, or that's just going to keep on messing up moments of your life. I want you to look at it as, well, it's their own opinion. And you cannot afford to let that individual's opinion continue to destroy the best moments of your life. For you, in every moment of life, there is the best. Look out for it. You see, be encouraged, look out for it. Get yourself prepared all the time by intentionally saturating your mind with positive thoughts. I want to leave you with this. See, I don't want you to always forget this. You are better than what you see, more than what you know, greater than what you look like. I'll see you next month by the grace of God. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Bye.
Imagination is the ability to see with your heart what you cannot see with your eyes. Isaiah chapter 26 verse 3. You will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you, because he trusts in you.
DIC Los Angeles, church with a difference.